Alright, so here's my Bill O'Reilly story.
Here you go.
It is 2014, and I'm 30 years old. And about 15 years ago, when I was in Chaminade High School, I was a junior, and we had to go for like a career night. So I picked like 2 things, and the third one was communications. So I walk into this big classroom that we had. It was like 75 guys. It was an old boys Catholic high school. It was hell on earth. So I walk in, and I'm like, and the guy who's talking, addressing the whole class, I'm like, I fucking know this guy. So I'm sitting down, and he starts talking, and he's bragging about how tough he is, how strong he was, and where he grew up. He grew up with a lot of money, and then he was telling us that he grew up without a lot of money, and like it was just 2 different stories. And I'm like, this guy's a fucking liar. I'm like, who is this guy? I know I recognize him from TV, and I didn't know who it was because I was 15. I didn't give a shit.
He walked uphill both ways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he was talking about how when people used to give him shit back in the day. He used to. I'll never forget this. He said, I used to punch him right in the mouth. That was exactly. I was like, this guy's such a douchebag.
That sounds so much like him.
Oh, and I'm like, who is this guy? I used to punch him right in the mouth.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, this guy's
bullshit artist.
Oh, he's so full of shit. So this guy keeps going on about how great he is. Then he goes, and finally, after 15 minutes of going on about how great he is, he starts asking us questions. He goes, and points this one kid. He goes, this kid in the front room.
Who was punch somebody in the mouth?
Kid, yeah, right. This kid in the front row. He goes, you. And it was the most timid kid you ever seen, you know. And he goes, how many newspapers do you read a day? And the kid goes, I have 3 hours of homework every night, and I'm in the chess club. He was like, totally lost composure. He goes, I read a newspaper a day on the way to school, and he goes, retard. And the kid he goes to the next kid. He goes, you, how many newspapers do you read a day? He goes, 2. He was like, I read 2 shoes. He's like, I read 2 every day, you know. And he was like, how old are you? And he goes, I'm 16. He goes, moron. Then he goes to the next kid, and he goes, you, how many newspapers do you read every day? And this kid goes, 3. He goes, how old are you? He goes, I'm 17. He goes, moron. And then he comes to me and he goes, how many newspapers do you read every day? And I was like, and I tried to be all smart, but I didn't really have the confidence. I was like a really shy kid. And I was like, it's better to read nothing at all than to read newspapers. And I said, like, James Madison. He was like, well, actually, that was Thomas Jefferson who said that. And how old are you? And I said, I'm 15 or 16, like that. And he goes, moron. And I was like, what the fuck's this guy's problem? You know, so I kind of like did like one of these. And he made me stand up in front of the class. Now, here's where the story changes. My mother had just gone to the Tanger outlet.
Story's ruined already.
My mother had just gone to the Tanger outlet, and she had bought me an irregular size pair of pants. A regular made pair of pants. There was like something wrong with them at the factory. So every time I stood up, the pleats on, because it was a dress code, you had to dress up in the school. The pleats on them made it look like I had a boner. Every time I stood up. So now having established that, Bill O'Reilly comes and he goes, you, stand up for being a smart aleck. So I stood up, and this is all you see, is this. Boner. And this kid goes, does Kane have a boner right now? And I was like, no boner.
Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like standing up, and I have like this pleat boner in my pants, and I was like, ugh! So he starts badgering me and asking me all these questions. Now this probably lasted all of 20 seconds, but for me it was like an eternity. I was like a shy 15-year-old kid. I was young because I'm born in late October, so I was like the youngest kid in the whole class and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So everybody else was like 16 and 17, a little bit older than me, so I was just like a really shy kid. So here I am with this pleat boner, like this, and he's badgering me. He's like, what do you read? Who do you read? And all this stuff, and I was just like an apathetic, like 15, 16-year-old kid, and he's just fucking badgering me. And then he made me sit down in front of the whole, and afterwards, just everybody was breaking my balls.
Feel better
so then I found out, yeah, exactly. This is a 40-some-odd-year-old man,
makes
and he was
his
like,
ego feel better.
I know. It's like, how crazy is that? Going back to the high school he went to. Exactly. Going back to the high school he went to, just to taunt young kids.
That just shows you how much of an impression Chaminade leaves on people's psyches, like in their minds.
So then afterwards, I'm walking out and I'm like mortified, and one of the brothers comes up to me and he goes, what did you say to piss off Bill O'Reilly? Because he went and complained about me, about like the nerve that I have to fucking to like A, have a pleat boner, and B, like, talk back to him. And the guy was such an asshole.
Wow.
And he got me in trouble. And ever since then, I've had it in for Bill O'Reilly. He's
got you in
he's
trouble.
a piece of shit.
Bill O'Reilly got you in trouble.
In trouble. I had to stay after school. Like, it was, like, Chaminade was no joke. There was a lot of discipline. So here he is. He goes back to the high school that he went to go taunt kids that are, like, a third his age. What a loser, right?
Wow, I don't believe that.
Ever since then, I've worked on my satire. One of these days, I'm going to get back at
That's
this guy.
incredible. That guy
He's such a douchebag.
What a
All right.
douche.
That's fuck you, Bill O'Reilly.
Seriously, douche.